and the tectonic shift which we were anticipating in the AI space has created the perfect opportunity for us to capitalize on that space. So it's got a very big upside. I think in Pakistan as an emerging market, we prefer the services side a lot. But if the opportunity is really good, local capital will fly to it. And there's enough of that available in Pakistan for this stage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting podcast of CodeNinja Global, a podcast dedicated to bringing you key industry insights from some of the most influential thought leaders across the globe. I'm your host, Taimoor Hussain, and today we're joined by the managing partner and founder of SAi Venture Capital, Mr. Ahsan Jamil. With over 2 decades of experience in the US market, Ahsan has worked with some of the leading organizations such as Aon Hewitt, Sears Holding Corporation, and Transform & Co. Moreover, he's an active member of the Forbes Technology Council and the brains behind SAi Venture Capital. So without further ado, let's begin our episode for today. Welcome to the podcast, Ahsan. We're delighted to have you here today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I've been waiting to come here for a while, so I'm very happy.
So before we jump into today's main topic, I'd like to understand a bit more of your experience in the United States. I understand you spent probably over a decade in the States working in different capacities and different roles that have included, for instance, coding, project management, and as well as leading product-based companies. What sort of key differences have you experienced in a developed market as compared to a developing one?
Yeah, it's a very loaded question. I've spent a couple of decades in the US. I finished my high school and left Pakistan and to work in the US. And primarily, my education was focused on technology and business, a combination. Later went on to do my MBA from there and spent most of my time in the technology domain in different roles. From doing systems analysis to building platforms, leading project management, working a lot in data, leadership roles, and so on and so forth. And spent most of the time in very large enterprises. I'm talking Fortune 1000, over $10 billion type revenue space. So the experience was very enriching. Coming back to Pakistan now, in an investor capacity and helping develop both the investment ecosystem as well as working with companies like CodeNinja, I can now compare and contrast the differences much better than back in the day. So many differences, beyond the market size and all that, but many similarities as well, in that space. So loaded question, what are the key differences? I could tell you, for example, scale. From the outside looking in, scale and that impact it has on how people work, how people develop things, that's very starkly different. In the US, people often ask me what are some of the things that, I've taken away, and there are many things I've learned there. But I think confidence in trailblazing at scale. That's one thing that in the US people have done many times over and have done well. And that's something that's extremely valuable for an emerging market like ours, where we're still traversing new pathways, developing new ways to get to bigger and better places. So those experiences are very, very invaluable, but a whole lot, it's 20 years of learning and experience.
So just touching upon that and, adding a bit more to it, what inspired you to leave the States and probably form SAi Ventures?
Yeah. So SAi was an ambition of me and my partners to say we want to invest in technology. We had seen in the last 20 years other emerging markets develop. I had participated and seen very firsthand how other regional markets have developed, the good, the bad, the learnings. And technology changes every 10, 15 years and creates new opportunities. And I wanted to make sure that the next wave of opportunity that comes on the global stage is something we can capitalize on out of an emerging market like ours. So that was a major inspiration from a business perspective that we wanted to participate in. Took the first couple of years that we've been in business, really understanding, mapping, creating our thesis, engaging, organizations like CodeNinja and so on and so forth. So, the journey has, begun, but long ways to go still.
I think it's a very inspirational sort of story that you've told us, and understand the journey hasn't ended at all. So one thing which I would like our audience to be also aware of, so I guess a lot of people are watching the podcast who are interested in setting up startups and seeking probably potential investors. Just for the audience, I'd like to know if you could explain what sort of difference do you feel with in enlightening the audience in terms of private equity and venture capital?
So, the global differences are very well understood. But I often say in Pakistan, we have to define our own definition of what venture capital investment is. We are at our consumer base, for example, is at a different sort of place in the world. We have certain constraints there. Our upside has different, variables compared to the rest of the world. So I look at it not as a predefined definition of private equity and venture space and bringing that here. I say we define our own. We inside love the upside of a venture-based investment, but we also know that in order to make our investment successful, there are some PE principles we need to apply on them as well. And that's our model on how we create deals and how we create value both for ourselves as well as the organizations that we are investing in. We look at reserve matters, upside, deal dynamics, and all of those things very, very closely. We don't go in with a predefined model that we saw either in San Francisco or in Indonesia and say, this is the model we want to use. We have a very, guiding principle-based conversations, and then we develop what we think is the best, both for us as investors, as well as the organization that we're investing in, as well as the goal that we have collectively as an investor and the organization of where we want to go.
Right. So in terms of making different sort of investments, there's a global rise in product market companies, and there's certain rise in services sector as well. How do you see the difference, and which one probably would you prefer?
Well, we obviously, in our stage for the first fund in Pakistan as an emerging market, we prefer the services side a lot. We look at product companies too, but I have a very specific thesis in that space, and we know that the time will come when more and more successful product companies will come out. It's just an evolutionary period. But the services space in Pakistan, both for an investor as well as the opportunity in front of us, is very, very attractive. The export side is what we call it. Can be services and product, but certain models, right, are very valuable here. With the engineering talent we have, some of the cost advantages, and the tectonic shift which we were anticipating in the AI space has created the perfect opportunity for us to capitalize on that space. So it's got a very big upside. I think close to $1 trillion are spent on that every year in that space, and we have virtually no market share there when we should. Many reasons why we don't have it, reasons we're solving for, working with organizations like yourselves to make that better. But I think that's where we want to focus on in these next couple of years, really create great technology companies out of Pakistan that can solve problems, that can contribute globally, and then go from there in investing in other sides as well.
So just dwelling on that perspective and expanding that, what makes you invest in Pakistan as compared to other emerging countries or regions? Anything in particular?
Well, advantages, right? One of the things we have in SAi, it's in our office, it's on the wall, it says, build on your natural advantages. In Pakistan, we have a large population. We have a strong engineering base that we can pick from, and we have cost advantages, And then we also have a hunger that we are very disproportionately below the space where we need to be in the global technology space. Other regions are proportionately capturing market space much better. And why have we not? So we spent a long time in the first year, particularly in the last couple of years, but definitely in the first year, understanding this, identifying the cause for why that market share has not been captured. Why are we not contributing at the global scale? And then finding a solution for that, and then working on the solution. So Pakistan, for as far as we were concerned, has that appetite. And when we saw the amount of local capital that goes into technology, it's negligible. There's so much fuel available in Pakistan if it is provided a structured way to get into this space, that it can create wonders. As investors are one of the, we're measured on the return on investment, that we can do. And we know that capital that'll go into that space, particularly local capital, is going to make a world of difference. I've said this multiple times, but any great success story has the smartest local capital backing it, and we want to do that. FDI is great, international investment is great, and we should get that strategically. But if the opportunity is really good, local capital will fly to it. And there's enough of that available in Pakistan for this stage. We're not really looking for $1 trillion in this space. We're first looking to invest the first few billion in it. And I think we're primed for that.
I think if we just look at the digital landscape globally, a lot of people are interested in investing perhaps into companies that are, for instance, technology first as a mindset. How important is that for you when you look into investing into companies?
Number one, without doubt. Having whether any type of company I look at, so I'm a technologist turned investor, right? I first understood technology and then I understood investing. So for us, technology is number one. In fact, most of the companies we perhaps didn't invest in was because we were not very happy with the technology framework. So it's a technology is the most important value prop. Without that, the conversation doesn't go forward. Everything else is important. It's not that they're not. Other factors are important. But without being a technology-focused company, I don't know what we're investing in. And in our valuation and in our analysis, it takes the heaviest weight by a distance. And we've been saying this for a couple of years. Even when the digitization phase in Pakistan was expanding, and the idea that yes, people will become more digital, which does mean more capital and finance flows through this, which means there's a big opportunity, which is all good. We would still look at technology first, because without that, we don't know how to move forward. Without that, we don't know the advantage we're investing in, which is why we feel like, we made some good choices.
Well, you said technology first is probably your priority.
Number one.
Just trying to understand one of the choices that you made recently, investing in CodeNinja, a recent investment of yours. Mm-hmm. And I probably assume that technology being first as a philosophy and across the organization would probably be one of the reasons. Mm-hmm. But just to expand on that a bit more, any particular reasons apart from technology that you invested into CodeNinja and perhaps not any other company?
Yeah, I mean, CodeNinja has a great leadership team that we worked with. It was a long analysis, right? This is not something we did like over a couple of weeks. It's months and months of conversations and due diligence and understanding, and I'm sure both ways, right? We were delving into a new asset class, creating a new type of deal framework. So yeah, I mean, beyond technology, many things, right? We think that the leadership team is very multidimensional. And as people, it's something, their values, their goals, their skills. Those are the things we looked at from that perspective. We also looked at the organization, looked at the depth of talent, looked at the authenticity of how the organization moves towards a goal, and then the probability of how the organization will grow on to the next phase of the journey, because we have very clear aspirations. Our goal is we are going after and capturing global Fortune 1000 client business in technology for our portfolio of companies. And we're getting ready to do that. We're already making progress towards that, but there's a journey that needs to happen. And the organization that we invest in must show that they have the potential and the start to get there. And those are the things we saw in CodeNinja. And in the last year has been wonderful seeing the organization grow, seeing the people grow, We love contributing towards it. We love participating in it. We'd love to see the next big story of technology stories come out of Pakistan and us backing them and participating in that.
We understand that you have a lot of interest in technology companies. If you compare CodeNinja to global service providers, what sort of differences or perhaps similarities do you see?
One stark difference is scale, right? You have got what I perceive are future competitors of CodeNinja to have 100,000, 50,000 people. Really large organizations with a rich history of problem solving and use cases. And that scale isn't there today because that scale comes with experience, that scale comes with what you're going through now, that's a difference. With that experience and scale, obviously the use cases and number of problems is also, the pool is wide. But they didn't get there from on base zero, they grew to that point. And that's the growth journey that we're going in now. Technology, frontier tech, and advanced technology changes that have come in, everybody is sort of picking that up again, right? And that's the opportunity. So while the size and the value addition grows for CodeNinja, the opportunity is fairly a blank canvas when you look at from a global perspective, because everybody is investing in the knowledge space and execution space, in AI, in machine learning, in new data structures, in identity protection, in security, and all of these things. And that's where the journey is going to happen. So it's a fairly even playing field, in that space. It's just a matter of working hard, taking advantage of the natural, advantages you guys have, and capturing that market and being ready to play with the best in the world. That's the goal, and we're very confident you guys will get there.
Hopefully, sir. So just expanding on your conversation about investing in CodeNinja, we at CodeNinja particularly believe in fostering hybrid intelligence. So we're able to serve our clients better. We're able to build best products and absolutely consider the requirements of the service industry. Is there anything particular in terms of expectations that you have from CodeNinja?
Yeah. Oh, a ton of them. I could spend the next 15 minutes laying that out, because all our expectations are geared towards a top line outcome in our organizational development that will lead us there. So the expectations are long, with the board, we have a very clear plan for each vertical, what needs to happen. We have very clear ambition in the next 2 years on where the organization needs to go. You guys are obviously working very hard to get there. Across the board, expectations in different places. If you're going to compete in the Fortune 1000 space and do work that is cutting edge at scale, to get that, there's a lot that needs to happen. And I'll touch on a couple of things, just for the audience. Organization, for example. You don't get to work at that space at scale if it is just a few handful of people who understand what a valuable engagement looks like. So one of the things the organization that is working really hard on is distilling those values and skills till the grassroots level. The mechanism of doing that is really important. The authenticity towards believing in that value is very important. So those are the inward looking things that we are focusing on. I'm a big proponent of focus on what you control, especially in emerging markets where there are external factors that can be detracting. They need to be sometimes ignored. So a lot of work and expectation is about doing the things internally that we do control and do them par excellence globally. One of the values, and we spend a lot of time on, is bringing those experiences globally into the organization at all levels. On the business development end and market expansion end, touching different regions, understanding client problems, enriching our own repository of knowledge so we can address those issues. The expectation is long. we literally spend hours and hours every month, discussing, solving, executing, tracking those things, because it is a journey. You guys are on a growth journey, and I think CodeNinja would do really well focusing on it. And frankly, as investors, we've seen the organization have the perseverance to keep going on this. We've been working together for a bit, and we're very happy that the organization has those attributes, particularly your leaders.
Well, that's great to know, because we are instilled into those, sort of values and sort of motivations on a day-to-day basis. Before we sort of move into the last segment, there's certain things which I want to understand that you look in terms of investments. For instance, what sort of challenges do you believe that startups face within Pakistan? Anything particular that they should be very wary about?
Yeah, I mean, we've had the last 3-4 years of data now available. Startups are able to see what went well and what didn't go well. And it'll go back to your earlier question about technology. For us, when we looked at some of those companies and formed an opinion, it was really one of the key common themes was a lack of technology focus. And I was in a town hall, not in a town hall, sorry. I was in a talk somewhere, and somebody asked this question, a very good question. It was like, how do we get that exposure and experience that will solve this problem? And I think that's what at a macro we should look at. But we have 3-4 years of information. So one is the technology aspects, and then the other is really truly making a very realistic and localized business models. Our assumptions of the business model should not be based on any other market but our own, which requires work from the ground up, understanding really basics. There's no other comparable model you can simply bring in and apply that. It's really about studying fundamentals, understanding things. There's no shortcut to it, because we are a unique market in our own right. So between technology and localizing business models, and of course, to add to my statement is the local capital infusion. I think when those three things are there, then the technology revolution sort of really picks up speed. We've had some success stories in the last few years, and we've also had some stories that have not gone well. And both are great from a learning experience for the next phase that is going to happen in these next 5 years.
That's interesting. So any last word of advice for particularly startups which are seeking perhaps investments or seeking towards getting investments into their companies within Pakistan?
Don't get into the business of how do we raise capital. Focus on your strengths. Make sure you have one of your strengths is technology. Focus on that. Get that figured out well. Show how your technology is geared and ready to create an advantages for your customer, whether it's in the B2B space, in the B2C space, depending on what they're doing. Focus on your customer. See how technology makes an advantage for them. And bring that to the table. The capital raise and all the other finesse of that will come eventually. Investors see a lot of decks, they see a lot of pitches all the time. So that doesn't really sort of impress. What impresses are founders and leaders who understand technology, who understand the path, who show signs of resilience and perseverance, who clearly establish that they're not in the game of capital raising, but are in the game of making a good business. And don't be hung with a model that has happened outside Pakistan. Use your own intelligence, use your own market research to develop your own model, and show success. That's how you attract capital. That's how investors become interested, versus taking something that's happened somewhere else and applying that to us over here.
I think you summed it up so perfectly, and that concludes the episode for today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, taking your time out today, Ahsan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.